Imagine syntax as a bustling city, where words and phrases move like cars on the streets. But not every street is open. Some are blocked. Some buildings have security gates. Some areas are completely off limits. Until 1986, Chomsky's government and binding, GB, framework explained how movement works. But a puzzle remained. Why does movement sometimes succeed and sometimes fail, even when distance and form seem fine? Enter Chomsky's barriers, 1986. He asked the question that would change syntactic theory: what really stops movement? The answer lies in the structure itself, through a concept called barrierhood. Now let's discuss that. Why barriers were needed, actually. By the early 1980s, GB had given linguists a powerful toolkit: government, binding, subjacency. It explained a lot, but not everything. Some movements, which looked perfectly logical, simply wouldn't work. Who did John say that Mary saw? It works as it's correct. Who did John wonder whether Mary saw? It fails as it's wrong. Both sentences involve movement and follow GB rules, yet one crashes. Chomsky realized GB needed refinement. He needed a principle to unify constraints, showing why some positions block movement while others allow it. Thus was born Barriers, 1986, introducing barriers and L marking, revealing that the structure itself determines where movement can go. While barriers solved these puzzles, it also hinted at the next revolution, minimalism, 1995, which would ask, do we really need all this machinery? Could syntax be simpler? Core theoretical shift, unifying locality. By 1986, Chomsky faced a puzzle. GB's rules for government and bounding were separate systems. One set decided what a head could govern. Another set decided how far movement could travel. It worked, but it didn't feel unified. Chomsky asked, what if the same principle that blocks government could also explain why movement sometimes stops? This became the heart of barriers. Government is strict guardian. Movement is flexible, but multiple barriers stop it dead. To unify everything, Chomsky refined X-bar theory. S is IP, inflection phrase, headed by I, tense, agreement, features. S-bar is CP, complementizer phrase, headed by C, that, whether, if. This renaming made syntax cleaner and more uniform. Barriers weren't arbitrary, they followed a single, principled notion of locality, governing everything from subjects to adjuncts, verbs to complementizers. Now let's discuss barriers and L marking. L marking, lexical marking. A category is L marked if it is directly theta marked by a lexical head. L marked categories are friendly, movement can pass through them. Non-L marked categories act as barriers. Examples: L marked, safe, John saw the movie. Here, the movie is complement of saw, so movement allowed. Not L marked, barrier, the man left early. Here, subject is not a complement, so movement blocked. Adjuncts. Example: John left after the movie ended. As it's never L marked, so it's always a barrier. Now let's discuss blocking category. BC, A maximal projection, NP, VP, CNP, is a blocking category if it is not L marked. Dominates the element you want to move. Think of blocking category as a security checkpoint. If it's not L marked, it blocks your path. Example: John believes the rumor that Mary left. Here, the rumor is a BC, so the movement of who blocked. Who did John believe the rumor that left? Is wrong, so it's ungrammatical. What is barrier, actually? A barrier stops movement. Inherent barrier. Category itself is ABC, subjects, adjuncts, some NPs, barrier by inheritance. Category dominates ABC. That inherits blocking power. Special case, IP. Never an inherent barrier, but can become one if it contains ABC. Simple idea. A barrier is anything in the sentence that stops movement. L-marked categories are safe, non-L-marked categories are obstacles. Sometimes a barrier can pass its power to its containing phrase. Condition on extraction domain, CED. CED formalizes islands, positions in a sentence that block movement. Subjects are inherent barriers. Adjuncts are absolute barriers. Examples: who did John say that Mary saw? It's grammatical. Who did John see the claim that left? It's ungrammatical. Which book did John leave after Mary read? Adjunct island. CED identifies barrier domains. Subjacency is that movement cannot cross more than one barrier. It explains violations. Analogy. Sentence is building. Subjects are locked rooms. Adjuncts are security zones. Complements are unlocked rooms. Proper government and empty category principle, ECP. When elements move, words, traces, they must be properly connected. Two types. Theta government. Head, verb, assigns theta role then traces, plus gamma. Example. John saw the movie. Here trace governed by verb. Antecedent government. Moved element governs trace. If no barrier intervenes then it's plus gamma. Gamma feature, gamma, plus gamma, shows properly governed, gamma, shows violates ECP as sentence crashes. Simple analogy. Theta government is a parent caring for child. Antecedent government is a friend linking to placeholder gamma as, trace health check, green is safe, red is crash. Minimality condition. What it is. When an element, like a word, moves, it cannot ignore closer potential governors. The closest eligible element always takes priority. Analogy. Imagine a queue at a gate. If someone is closer, they block anyone behind them from cutting in. Why it matters. Prevents, shortcut, violations in movement and trace linking, ensuring that movement respects local structure. Example. Who did John say that Mary saw? It's grammatical as closest governor governs trace. Who did John ask whether Mary saw? It's ungrammatical as blocked by closer CP. Immediate projections. Every head, like N and NP, projects layers. N then N bar then NP. Internal elements are protected from outside interference. Vacuous movement hypothesis, VMH. What it is. Some movement doesn't appear at the surface, S structure, but still satisfies requirements at the logical form, LF. Example. Who saw Bill? Here, who is already at the front, so movement is invisible, but LF interprets it as if it moved to CP specifier. Analogy. A ghost move. It doesn't show physically but still counts in the system. Parasitic gaps. What it is. A secondary gap that exists only because the first gap exists. It cannot exist independently. Example. Which articles did you file without reading? Here, first gap is real, object of file. Second is parasitic, object of reading. Analogy. Twin chain links. One cannot exist without the other. Head movement. What it is. Movement of heads, like verbs, rather than full phrases. Governed by head movement constraint, HMC, cannot skip intermediate heads. Example. Verb to inflection movement. John will leave. Here, John the first leave in structure. Analogy. Climbing a ladder, must step on each rung, cannot jump over rungs. Why barriers matter. Unified previous constraints. Subjacency, SSC, TSC explained under barrierhood. Explained islands structurally. Subjects, adjuncts, non-L marked NPs. Introduced L marking. Principled distinction between blockers and movers. Laid groundwork for minimalism. Focus shifts from where movement stops to why movement happens at all. Barriers is not about stopping movement, it's about explaining why movement was never free to begin with. Now let's end the discussion. With barriers, Chomsky showed that syntax isn't free to do whatever it wants. Every movement, every trace, every connection is carefully monitored. It's a world of rules, guardians, and invisible boundaries, where even freedom has limits. Understanding these limits reveals the true elegance of language. Thanks for watching. Visit our website for amazing related information. Like, subscribe, and share.